So a few days ago, we were told by Mandy, with MMR, we increased the soft cap a few weeks ago. As you can see, it's taken a while for things to even out and become noticeable. We're always able to make minor tweaks to things, so we felt that was the right time to lift the soft cap. That being said, I was kind of curious because I really enjoy solo queuing. One of the big reasons why I stopped solo queuing is people just quit on hook. They're bad at the game. Not to be mean, but like playing with bad teammates who don't know how to run and take chase and who don't know how to do gens, even though that's literally your objective. It's very it just sucks. It just really sucks. And the quitting thing is probably the one reason why it put me off, or, people hiding with distortion, etc. So I thought to myself, why not go anon and take a character that I don't have a high prestige in, so we don't alter like testing or anything, nobody becomes sweaty, and see how the games go and kind of get an idea of how I feel about the MMR. Because that's like one of the common things I get on stream is, how do you feel about the MMR? What are you thinking? Do you feel like anything's different? Oh my god, it's kicking my ass. I didn't feel anything at the time those questions were happening, and I realized why in this, and maybe that'll help other people understand or possibly dodge MMR if you just want to play and not have to deal with it. So I did 4 games at 8 a.m. and I did 4 games at 9 p.m. and then I did a couple games with my duo partner to see how it would it get worse later in the night, because that's where most people don't feel it. Like, we look at Tofu's post. Tofu also plays around my time. He's like, oh my god, I'm not feeling anything. Is something wrong with me? I don't think anything's wrong with you, gamer. I just think that we're playing at the worst time when it comes with this MMR thing. But what happens if we play at an earlier time in the morning or in the early evening? For example, the first game was a really good indicator of this. I had low hope because the person I was playing with had 600 hours, which doesn't really show anything. They could be a cross-platform gamer, but that would be the Nancy. Ironically enough, the Nancy wasn't a bad player because they could have dropped this pallet. They could have panic dropped it like most people, but they didn't. They just kept running. And I know that's such a small thing, but that tells me that you want to conserve resources, and conserving resources is a very smart thing that you can do as a player. But yeah, after seeing that the Nancy was leaving that pallet up, I'm like, okay, this team, I shouldn't be judging a team by its cover at that point. And so this game went exactly as you expected. We did all die because they did tunnel everybody out, which is whatever. But my team still did a lot. They didn't just panic. They played well under pressure. And that is what I'm talking about with something that I've noticed in these morning games, is my teammates were tremendously better. And you'll see that in this game too. My teammates were very strong. Ada last throughout the entirety of this exposed status effect. There even came a point where Ghostface gave up because he realized there was a skill diff, and he sat in a corner, and instead of my teammates ending the game to put this poor guy out of his misery, they 99'd the generator to keep the game going. Like, these guys aren't new. They're good gamers who want their blood points and to extend the game and maybe bully the killer, which is like, okay, I don't know what kind of light switch they flipped for that MMR, but I'm definitely feeling it here, and so is that Ghostface. So it got me wondering, after playing in the last couple games in the morning, we had good teammates, we had killers with specific stylistic plays, we had Chag, we had a clown that played optimally but also split pressure really, really well, so we lost. And then we had a huntress that was really good at orbitals, and the only reason why I survived was my awareness about perks and add-ons. If I wasn't aware of perks or add-ons, that huntress would have demolished me. So I wonder, despite all that, what are games going to be like in the later night, 12 hours later, after I get some sleep? Because I am a night owl. I don't sleep at the right time. And interestingly enough, there was a big skill difference between killers and survivors. The survivors felt really strong. My duo was watching me play because they were going to join in later. They brought up that, what if these killers are playing like this or what if these killers are playing poorly because they relied on perks too much? And the only reason why they were doing so well was because the perks were carrying them. The SBMM, with how it was a skill-based matchmaking, it being very offset, that also played a role too. And I thought to myself, maybe because I can't really imagine how so many killers played so badly at like 9 p.m. And it wasn't really until I looked back at the footage that I thought to myself, maybe my duo has a point here. In this Onryo ran 2 anti-chase perks, Rapid Brutality and Sabiffle, both things to make you go zooming in chase. But they didn't get it down until 2 gens, till 2 gens, 1 gen left. They would leave pallets down, they wouldn't use their power, they barely teleported. So they weren't aware of their kit and how to use it efficiently to be able to play in a manner where they were oppressive. Because the most oppressive thing about Onryo is they're running a condemn build kind of, so they teleport, we gain condemn, which is base kit, but they also, if we heal each other, we gain condemn too. What happened? How come you weren't able, if this Onryo knew how to use their killer in a manner where they were effective, I think things would have ended up differently. So it kind of got me thinking, okay, if this guy can't use their chase perks to play efficiently, did any other killers struggle to play efficiently with their kit and they relied on perks on their end? Like, is that what carried them? Because why are they in this MMR if they're not able to hold their own? So I'm going to skip the second game because the second game kind of goes into a different point that I observed with this mini experiment. And the Wesker and Dr. A Face also had the same idea with Onryo. Wesker ran Jolt and Pain Res, Barbecue and Brutal Strength, so 2 which are their anti-gen, but they didn't play their killer very well. And because they didn't play their killer very well, we had a pretty optimal team that was always on generators, and we were doing just fine. They couldn't keep up. And if you can't down people to get your pain res proc or your surge, sorry, I'm so used to calling it Jolt now. And also, why are you running surge on Wesker when his entire thing is an M2? It's a very odd choice. And I'm noticing the skill diff between killers now more than survivors on my team. And I wonder if that's going to even out eventually. I think that maybe maybe these killers just don't belong here. And because of them raising the soft cap, they have to go back down to where they're supposed to be. Or this could be an example of why killing people being the only means to raise your MMR may or may not be a good idea. The same way surviving and escaping to raise MMR as survivor probably shouldn't be like an idea to use as a means of skill. The reason why I say this is because we have survivors who very clearly don't belong here, to a point where it's interesting because if you've ever played Overwatch or a Valorant or probably like something that has a competitive scene, you can tell when someone got boosted to their rank because they just don't belong. And I'm going to point out one person who clearly doesn't belong here. Kate, in this situation, they're running Urban Evasion, which is fine. It's a cute little perk. But the way that they're playing and the way that they're sneaking around and not wanting to take aggro, they haven't been hooked yet. They don't belong here. Just watching back at the footage cracks me up, dude. They just sit here and they play in the safest route possible, not realizing that their team needs aggro to be able to handle this guy. And so later on, I make the call. I bet you that Kate that's healing that Steve over there, that killer's going to show up and Kate's going to disappear and Steve's going to take all the aggro. And sure enough, you can see it right there. Kate disappears, lets Steve take all the aggro, and they immediately leave the crime. So now we're reaching more so the night later hours, and this is where the whole argument of is MMR actually on? Is my game okay? It's super late. It's because we're playing at 10 p.m. and I think it's because the range for the MMR is so wide, and a lot of people quit around this time. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they're just not as skilled and they're more likely to give up. We have somebody giving up in this play game where they just gave up on hook, and I do think that maybe would be able to pull through if they stayed. They just lose faith really fast. Another instance is the Twins game that somebody just randomly DC'd and just gave up at the final death hook. And same thing with this other guy who was just throwing every pallet in the game because they wanted to quit the game early. They also wanted to give up. And then the Twins was nice because they're wondering what just happened. So they gave me Hatch because that was really bizarre. Like, for example, with the whole quitting thing or teammates just not being as good type of thing this late in the day. Meg here wanted to heal when the killer was right there. And here's my reaction to that. I'm not healing here? Go, you fucking weirdo. Like, what do you mean heal here? The guy's right there. Like, why are you staring at me for? What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh my god. This is like a night and day difference. And then we fast forward and Feng Min just doesn't want to play like a teammate. She doesn't want to get healed at all. She attempts on hook, which could just be because I'm nearby her and going for save. And I try my best to heal her throughout the entire game, and she just really doesn't want at all, which would have prevented a lot of this. It's like she queued up and didn't even want to try to play. My duo was like, hey, I don't think they're quitting. I think they're just bad. I'm like, no, but they're not even trying. I mean, at that point, it's okay. Meg was at least trying, okay? Meg had some questionable decisions, but she was at least attempting to play the game. But this Feng Min here loaded up and just decided, oh, maybe I don't actually know. All of the games around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. CST were awful to play as, even as a duo. It was a night and day difference of what we talked about earlier and then what you're seeing now. And so you can kind of see this as well with the game with Wesker. The Dwight was fine, but the Ada that we had was just kind of aloof. We had 2 people on hook. I wasn't going to farm and trade because I have a pause button. I have like a preventable measure from doing so. The Wesker wasn't really bad. It's just we had a teammate that just definitely dragged us down in a situation where we needed them the most to have a good game sense and awareness to help us out of the situation. This is kind of where solo queue felt for a very long time. It's kind of nice having a time period, at least in the morning, where we don't have to deal with this constantly. If you want to keep playing DBD and not have to deal with MMR, just play at night as killer, at least. If you're playing Survivor at night, play with friends. Don't play don't play alone. It's really bad. It's still really, really bad. And even as killer, there's still just as many people DCing, just as many people quitting as there were before. So I just felt like ranting. Let me know what you think of the MMR. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know if you have the same experience as I do, where you play really late at night, or you play when I think it's like a killer incentive that we get really bad Survivor players, or Survivor players that are more disorganized and not as committed to the game as they would be if they were playing in the morning. Anyway, thanks for watching.